Hey, my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. I'm with Disability Resolution PA. Here are the top 10 places SSA recipients won't be able to live in the future. Let's go through it. Number 1, the top 5 most expensive states to live in. Everybody knows that because they're way too expensive. Number 2, the District of Columbia. So ironically, the District of Columbia is becoming more and more expensive, and it does have really, really cheap areas, but a lot of those are getting cleaned up and once again becoming very expensive. Number 3, major cities that are hosted by Democratic mayors. That's not really a political statement. It's just that Democrat-based cities tend to be more expensive than Republican-based cities, although most cities are Democrat-based cities. 4, high-income areas where the next major industries players live. Like it used to be Silicon Valley, and shortly it'll be like, some spots in Texas where there's the whole space business and there's a whole space county or whatever. Number 5, high-cost food states. So states like Florida, where food is just obnoxiously expensive. Number 6, states with low state supplements, which are mostly Republican states. So basically, there will be states that have very low supplements to benefits. Like, federal government will come out with a certain provision, and then states will supplement. They'll give you more on top of that. Unfortunately, states with really low supplement assistance, based upon how things are going right now with their whole COLA exchange, cost of living adjustment, unfortunately, really, really low supplement states, unless they continue to remain and be super cheap, if it's a low supplement state and it doesn't remain cheap, you're not going to be able to live there. 7, postage stamp states, being small states with heavy population that have highly divided land parcels. So basically any place that has property that's been super divvied up. And remember, if you go back 200 years, everybody had, for the most part, acreage because there was tons of land all over the place. If you would go back 400 years, obviously you had cities back then, but you went 400 years, 600, and then you'd be outside of the United States. But the point is, if you look at land in the United States population, certain states highly developed. East Coast, itty-bitty states, very early development, postage stamps. You go to Dakotas, you go to Washington, you go to, Alaska has a lot of built up because it's the lifestyle up there. But you go to some of these places, acreage upon acreage. You want to own 40 acres? No problem. You want to own 80 acres? No problem. You want to own 1,000 acres? No problem. It's there. It's available. So just kind of keep that in mind, that small postage stamp-based states are usually states that have been highly developed, lots and lots of people, kind of an early development in American society. You're not going to be able to live in those states because all the taxes are going to be too high. You're not going to get much or be able to live there because everything's so divvied up and everybody's already living there. Number 8, reduced self-protection states. As disabled people, a lot of disabled people actually own weapons. And this is something that's not really talked about. I want to do a video on types of weaponry that disabled people should consider for their own personal protection. So let me just read what I have here. Reduced self-protection states. As disabled people own weapons for obvious reasons to protect themselves because they can't as easily defend themselves, and they are more likely to stay away from high crime, low legal availability weaponry states. So, sorry, let me phrase that. They are more likely to stay away from high crime, low legal availability of weaponry states. So what does that mean? It means that essentially when it comes to disabled people, think of a physically disabled person that can't walk, right? Their ability to run from a situation. That's why some of the rules in some of these states where it's like, you need to leave the area where the crime is being committed on you. And I'm just, that's why stand your ground is such an appropriate law, especially for the disabled, because a lot of them can't leave the area, or they can't leave the area efficiently, So, and they don't talk about this, but a lot of disabled people are likely to move to states where they're unlikely to get attacked, have things stolen from them, have people break into their apartment, etc. They're likely to move to states where there's low crime. They're likely to move to states where basically they can have weaponry and rights to own weaponry that can keep them protected. And I think that this is incredibly important. Nobody really talks about it much, but I plan to in the future to open that venue for people to learn about weaponry. I had a talk with somebody, and some of you guys might know this person, but I had a talk with somebody and we were talking about gun laws, and they're like, oh yeah, and they want to restrict gun laws so that you can only buy one gun a month. And then the person I was talking to was like, well, how many guns do you need? And I was just like, that's not the point, buddy. That's not the point. Like, the point is they're just removing more and more and more and more and more and more of your rights, you know? Like, we have ways to make sure that we can, you know, have guns be purchased and used for legal purposes, but constantly removing the right of a person to have ammo, purchase firearms, whatever, it's just, to me, it is one of the most terrible things that can happen. Because the whole point of this country is that, and the Constitution was based on, like, before the Constitution was written, the first thing on everybody's mind in that room was the Constitution is written for the purpose to allow the people to overthrow the government. That was on their mind before anything else. The government cannot grow so big as so that the people cannot overthrow it with the weaponry that they need to do it. That's the first thing that was on all of their mind when it comes to basically doing analysis as to how to write a constitution. That's why, like, the first thing that you're looking at is like freedom of speech, you know. So the second element, right to carry, you know, firearms, you know. But a lot of people don't think about that. And I've seen this like little meme or whatever going around where like it's like this angry woman saying, "I don't care what the, you know, what the framers," and they didn't call it that. They called it something less. It was like what the people who wrote the Constitution are saying. You know, they were okay with slavery, and they were okay with this, and they were okay with that, and they didn't care about women's rights and stuff like that. It was a different time. It was a different time. And I get their point, which is that when it comes to an analysis from a constitutional framer's perspective, like, you know, if we go by just what they knew and what they were doing, then it would be very backward compared to today's standards. But I think what the point is that a lot of these higher level judges are doing, you know, these constitutional review judges, they're looking at it from what do the people need to give them the most freedom. And what scares me is that the people that are screaming, oh, the original Constitution was pro-slavery and anti-women's rights and stuff like that. Yeah, but I don't know if you've noticed, but the decisions that are coming out are anti-slavery, anti-racism, pro-women's rights. That's all coming out from these Supreme Court justices. So the point is they had to modify what they think a modern day framer would be thinking like, which is incredibly difficult because you have to know what they were and then, you know, bring in where everything's at and come up with something that works for everybody. That's tough. That's tough. And remember, these Supreme Court justices, they don't get the easy stuff. A lot of you guys go in your mind to like, oh, just fix that. No, they get the claims that states can't agree on, where there's no happy middle ground. And they got to figure out some sort of bright line middle ground. Anyways, guys, those are the top 10 places SSA recipients won't be able to live in the future. I just want to make you aware so you can start thinking, planning, and be on top of this. All right? My name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. Have an absolutely wonderful day. I will catch you a little bit later. Please remember, like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews. And I go live 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time every Thursday on YouTube. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.